안녕하세요 여러분, 저는 무리입니다. 오늘은 나의 해방일지 넷플릭스 드라마를 대해서 이야기할 거예요. 걱정을 하지 마세요. 스포일러가 없어요. 그럼 리뷰를 시작해요. 그리고 지금부터 영어를 할게요. It feels so weird to speak Korean right now because it's spring semester, so I don't have a Korean class and I feel really rusty. I need to start reviewing all of my notes from last year for sure. Okay, like I said, 리뷰를 시작해요. So let's start with the synopsis, then we'll move into pros, cons, and then my rating at the end. So firstly, the synopsis, and I'm going to keep it extremely brief and pretty much plagiarize Wikipedia because I think it's all you really need to know about the series, and that is that My Liberation Notes follows a family who lives in the countryside about an hour outside of Seoul. I believe it's Sampo. 3 siblings who are all dissatisfied with their life because of one reason or another. And the youngest daughter forms a very unique and unconventional friendship and almost therapeutic relationship with a very secretive neighbor who basically the only thing that we know about him for the vast majority of the series, running away from his past, and he's an alcoholic. Don't present him in a very great light, but he's a character that you really just need to watch to be able to enjoy and latch onto. On paper, he does not sound like someone I'd want to be friends with. Let's move right into pros, because if you're no stranger to My Mister, then the synopsis might sound a little bit similar to you, because My Mister also followed a family, I believe it was 3 brothers in My Mister, who all come together to help each other heal along with IU's character. So this is a very familiar synopsis, and that is because the writer is the same for both the works, except for the synopsis is pretty much the only thing that they really have in common, and then also its deep exploration of the characters' mental states. Both shows are character driven, psychologically driven. All that is to say that if you enjoyed My Mister, you can expect the same level of quality and character motivations and development. Not only does the writing shine with developing our characters, but also the plot. It makes good on every promise that it establishes within the first 4 episodes or so. Personally, I thought the first 4 episodes were fantastic. I binged them as fast as I could, and then there was kind of a middle section where I thought to be a little bit slow, and then from episode 12 to 16 I thought it was absolutely fantastic. The finale was so good, and every single arc felt satisfying to me. Even if they didn't leave off on this beautiful, like, happy-go-lucky ending, I was still incredibly satisfied with how we left off every single character. I also want to praise the comedy. I absolutely love how this series, which is quite heavy, it's very dialogue heavy, it's very much let me tell you how I'm thinking all the time, like pretty much every conversation within this series is trying to get some sort of message across. The comedy, when it's there, it's a quieter moment. There's less dialogue happening and it's more situational. My favorite one for anyone who has seen the series is when one character has done something to another character's car and he goes to tell him, but instead of wearing his slippers, he decides to wear his runners instead. In that moment when he's sitting by the door looking at his slippers and then it's like, and then puts on his runners instead. Oh my god, it was so funny. I loved it because you could see what the character was thinking without them having to verbalize it. And whenever we got a moment of quiet like that in this show, it served as a breath of relief for me personally, because the dialogue is so heavy all the time. These characters don't shut up. Speaking of the characters, I only realized after I started outlining this review that I personally didn't really love the majority of the characters. Like, I don't think I invested personally in 90% of them. What I was invested in was the fantastic acting and the writing. I wanted to see their story. I wanted to see their arcs and their growth. That's what I was here for. The character who I found most satisfying was the one that I think I disliked the most in the beginning, which was the brother. It was like watching his scenes, trying to decide if I should skip ahead or not. Like, I just didn't really latch onto him. And then the last 4 episodes or so, he was by far my favorite. His story was just so beautiful. Now that I've completed the whole series, I can confidently rank the characters in order of my favorites, which probably would be the brother, surprisingly enough, then the secretive neighbor, and then honestly it might be the dad, and then our true female lead, the youngest sister. Now let's talk about the sound design and soundtrack. This also shares a few commonalities with My Mister. My Mister had a heavy focus on almost ASMR elements, like the sound of people walking and breathing. That is also implemented here. This sound decision really works with this author or screenplay right, I think, because this screenplay focuses so much on a character's introspection and how they're feeling emotionally. It's really, really nice to have it paired with silence and mundane sounds. Yeah, so those are my big pros for this series: the writing, the sound design, the acting, the comedic moments. When something can make me laugh like this in such unexpected ways that I find to be so genuine to real life, I appreciate it so much. Now let us move on to the cons, and I only have a few. The first one will be the slow pacing. Remember I said first 4 episodes and from episode 12 to 16 were by far my favorites. So there is a good chunk in the middle there, which I found to be very slow. It dragged a bit, and the conversations got a bit too heavy for me. I wanted a bit more action, not like, oh, running around action or anything, but like more action, less dialogue. During this middle section, I was having a hard time believing the authenticity of the conversations being had, because every single conversation has to tell you something. They come off as a bit preachy in certain scenes. I am not faulting the writer for this at all. I am gonna blame this on a translation issue. While I was watching this series, I was reminded of that IU miniseries that I believe came out in 2018, 2019. I think it's called Persona. And the last episode of Persona, when it's like the black and white episode, and it's just her and like a past lover having a conversation, and someone's died or something like that, like, I remember expressing in that review that I did not enjoy the conversations being had. I just didn't think that they had the emotional impact that was intended. But I loved that I said that, because I got some really great comments informing me that when listened to in, native Korean, these conversations had tremendous emotional impact. So I don't fault the writing, I fault the translation and how just certain words don't have direct translation sometimes, or it's hard to find the right meaning as a translator. Translating is such a difficult job. Bear that in mind, that if you're not a huge, like, let's talk about your feelings kind of person, you might not really enjoy this series just because that's what this series is. So to recap, slow pacing and some inauthentic conversations, but I'm blaming those on poor translation. Now for my overall rating. It is gonna be a 4.75 out of 5 stars. I think if you enjoyed My Mister, Missing, basically any of the shows that I discussed in my Mister based recommendation video, I'll put it right there. If you liked any of those, I would give My Liberation Notes a watch. Or if you're here after having watched my Liberation Notes and are looking for something new to watch, check out that video. I'm sure you'll find something else to binge and love. Hey guys, that is everything from me today. Let me know down below if you've watched my Liberation Notes and your list of favorite characters. I always love knowing who you guys gravitate towards because we are often different. I love it when we have different opinions. Have a good day, have a good night, bye.